I'm Kimberly, standing in my new lab overlooking the city. I just finished creating a scent of sea salt, ozone, and cedar wood. I named it Liberty. It symbolizes the freedom I've finally achieved, free from the chains of a toxic family. 6 months ago, I received a reconciliation request from my parents through a lawyer. I responded with a foreclosure notice. It was a far cry from the family I once tried so hard to hold together. It all started at my brother Derek's party. He was always the golden child in our family. My parents, Henry and Grace, were so proud of him, always bragging about his potential. At this party, Derek, in a drunken rage, shattered a glass. The sound cut through the silence of the seaside villa filled with 200 guests, mostly investors and socialites carefully curated by my parents. He turned to me and sneered, "You think you're something just because you mix chemicals in a basement? You're nothing but a glorified lab assistant. That company? Those formulas? They're because of me. I planted the ideas in your head and built the strategy. You just did the grunt work. 80%. That's my share. Sign over the rights tonight, or I'll ruin your reputation so bad you won't even get a job washing beakers." My parents sat on either side of him, sipping their drinks, avoiding my gaze. It was the most deafening silence I'd ever experienced. For years, I'd been the peacemaker, the one who absorbed all the shocks so Derek wouldn't have to face any bumps. But this time, looking at the shards of glass near my feet, I knew it was over. I reached into my bag and took out my phone. Derek thought I was calling a lawyer or recording him. He puffed up his chest, ready for a fight. "Go ahead, call whoever you want. No one cares," he taunted. Instead of opening my contacts, I opened my banking app. I had set up a $50,000 transfer for my new nephew's college fund, a peace offering, a desperate attempt to gain my family's love. But I canceled the transfer. The money was safe back in my account. I didn't say a word. I just turned around and walked towards the double doors. Derek shouted after me, "Walk away, Kimberly. Don't come back until you're ready to sign." I didn't pause. I stepped into the cool night air, leaving behind the suffocating atmosphere of the party. Driving away in my 10-year-old sedan, I expected to break down. But all I felt was a strange clarity. The family I thought I was fighting for was just an illusion of ego. I drove to my apartment, a simple gray building with peeling paint. It was my safe haven. Once inside, I sat at my second-hand desk and opened my laptop. I started auditing all the money I'd given to Derek over the years. 5 years ago, he maxed out 3 credit cards trying to launch a failed lifestyle brand. My parents called me crying, and I paid off $15,000. There were also emergency loans, car repairs, and his penthouse rent when he was short on cash. And somehow, my mother's medical bills always ended up in my mailbox while he was off having a great time in exotic places. I realized I'd spent 10 years in a rented basement, inhaling fumes and testing essential oils, while Derek played golf and my parents boasted about his future at parties where I wasn't even introduced. Why had I done it? It all went back to when I was 12. I'd won a regional science fair with a $50 prize and a blue ribbon. But when I got home, Derek had crashed his car. My father took the $50 from me, saying, "Your brother is in trouble. We're a team." And my mother whispered, "Being a good sister means giving up what you have so he can shine. That's your purpose." I believed them for so long. I thought if I gave enough, they'd love me. But looking at the spreadsheet, I saw the truth. I wasn't the soil for Derek to grow on. I was the architect, the builder, and the bank. The trouble didn't stop at home. By Tuesday, Derek sent a cease and desist letter to the conglomerate acquiring my company, claiming intellectual property theft. He said my signature scent, patented 3 years ago, was based on a concept he'd sketched on a napkin at a family barbecue. The buyers were spooked and wanted the issue resolved in 48 hours, or the $60 million deal would be off. My mother called me, scolding me for destroying Derek's reputation and saying he was just protecting what was his. My father threatened to ruin my reputation if I didn't settle with Derek by Friday. But I wasn't going to back down. I called the most aggressive intellectual property attorney in the state, Mr. Harris. We started gathering evidence. I dug out my original lab journals from 2014, each page date, stamped and notarized. I printed all the emails Derek had sent me about the company. They were full of basic questions, showing he had no real knowledge of the business. I also hired a forensic accountant, Mr. Lewis, to find out why my family was so desperate for money. It turned out Derek had taken hard money loans, and my parents had forged a loan agreement using a power of attorney I'd signed at 18. I was a co-signer on $600,000 of fraudulent debt. At Derek's next party, I walked in and dropped the loan file on the table. I told him I was now his creditor. The loans were in default, and the collateral included the villa, his car, and my parents' retirement accounts. Panic spread among them. I told them I'd use the money to help victims of financial abuse. In the end, I didn't keep my family, but I kept myself. I found the courage to break free from the toxic cycle and embrace my own freedom.